let's talk for a minute about the creation process for creating sort of engaging, successful content. You know, when you embark on an initiative, on a project with a client, sort of what are the steps that you take?
Yeah, well, I'm kind of old school about it. I think, you know, first you establish goals and then develop a strategy and then get to tactics. There's some research out there that shows that, you know, a lot of people are doing content marketing without a strategy, right? And I think in this developing industry or discipline, there's a lot of room for traditional discipline, right? So have a plan, stick to it, have a strategy, know your audience very, very well, and that's the beginning. And then I'd say once you're in it, there are kind of three things that really matter. One is storytelling. So I know in public relations and in journalism we think hard about, you know, who cares, right? You're supposed to be developing content that is affects your audience, your target group, or at least informs them about something. So you have to provide value. And to do that, you need to follow, you know, what are the hallmarks of good storytelling? Is there conflict? Is there human interest? Getting where kids or animals in there? You know what I mean? So that people pay attention and think about different media and how engaged or unengaged your audience ultimately is, and how much do you need to get their attention, how are you going to cut through the noise, all that good stuff. The other thing, too, is crafting the messaging and crafting the execution. Is it authentic, right? Is it consistent with your brand? You know, Contently wrote a good piece about the uncanny gap in content marketing. People will accept an insurance company, for instance, talking about things that are relevant to insurance customers. They may not accept you giving recipes for, you know, a protein shake, okay? So just because it's engaging on one level doesn't mean it serves your brand very well or even serves your customer very well. And the third thing I would say, and it gets back to the first, is the need for rigor and for cooperation. For a lot of organizations that are dipping their toe in the water of content marketing, there isn't a content marketing lead, there isn't a content strategist. It's public relations or comms and marketing working together, trying to work together, sometimes being at loggerheads in terms of what they expect and how they speak to their audiences. So getting that together and setting up early on in a project how people are going to work together, who's going to be the decision maker, all that kind of stuff can be the difference between failure and success.
So this is the best time for marketing. And the reason why is because you can fail so fast that you basically have no choice but to course correct. You know, gone are the days of saying, you know, guess what, guys? We built a website and it's up. And that means the customers are going to flood in. It doesn't exist anymore. And even the days of saying, we now have a blog, so we're going to start telling some great stories and people are going to love them. That doesn't work anymore. Now, the greatest sort of mechanism we have is to actually get people who care about what we write, who care about the stories we're putting out there, who allow you to have that personal identification with the brand and not know that they're always pushing something out there to you in a way that you know that you're just trying to sell something. So we have to think about the way that we push content more based on the distribution of it and realize that it can be very expensive to make some mistakes. But that's okay because now you can learn from those mistakes a lot quicker.
Well, I'd say the other thing about it is you're you know, to go back to the creation side. Yeah. So where are we getting the ideas? So to Joe's point, I mean, we have a strategy. It could be an overall marketing strategy of how we're trying to engage a certain audience. Certainly that's the case in terms of Tangerine. But, and we have like created an editorial advisory board that's made up of all the product teams. And so initially when I was engaging them, they'd say, well, you know, you should write a story about our new checking account. No, we should do content about why people need to be better at balancing their budget and whatever, and then you know these lead to your solutions. You don't talk about talk about the opportunities and the challenges and so on. But one thing we learned is, you know, the other way to get ideas is social listening. To you know what are people talking about? What are they concerned about? Oh, they're worried about what is the cost of cauliflower, or and the cost of groceries and stuff like that. And you can turn around a story about how to save pennies or dollars, on this and that, and it gets to budgeting, and that leads back. So you can go up the funnel a little bit, higher than you might imagine, depending on what's happening. But then there's surprises we've had where we had, I'll just give a quick example. The investments team at Tangerine come to us and say, we got most of the questions we get at this time of year on the phone are people trying to understand mutual fund distributions. Could you guys make a video about that? And we thought, oh, really? Okay, we will. And it's the highest viewed video we've made. The reason why, it's all about the long tail. So it's not like people browse, hey, I hope there's something I'm going to find on mutual fund distribution. They're searching for it. Mm-hmm. And you're getting all of those people that are searching for it. So, I mean, there's different ways to listen as to what to feed the content again. But to me, that's the first thing is what, why the content you're making, why are you making it? Like what has led you to decide to create that content? And it shouldn't start with, well, we're launching this product and it should start with what is the need, want, fear, desire of the target audience.
Right. It starts with a story, would you say, or?
Absolutely. It's really about understanding what story is going to compel our audience as well. Whenever we do any kind of strategy work, the first place we like to start, if we have that ability to, is to do basically a whole audit of everything. We have all these mechanisms to communicate with people, but is it resonating? And it's really about having that footprint, that big footprint in terms of communicating with people, because you don't know what's going to touch people. But also, too, it's, not just the data that you're getting from that, but the insights that you can get from that data, right? And looking, cross-tabulating some of the stuff and trying to figure out, there really is this opportunity over here that we had never considered. And you'd be surprised, a lot of organizations don't actually take that step back. We're busy doing, and getting through the events or whatever it is. But we really do need to sort of step back and do that audit and look at the whole landscape, and then continually iterate on that as well.
So the way that I think about producing content and getting it in front of people is I think very much like, if you imagine, yourselves as an audience, if you have the ability for any of these, let's just say these companies up here to say, what we're going to do is we're going to market content to you, and we're going to do that by you guys staying in your spots, and we're going to walk up to you, and what we're going to do is we're going to present some value opportunity to you, and if you don't like it, you can turn around, right? But if you do like it, then you might be compelled to ask a question. So that's kind of the essence of content marketing. So when you think about it, though, you have to also consider the fact that if I know how to communicate to you, it has to be in the same medium, right? It has to be in the same form. So if I walk up to you and I say, hi, I'm Josh, and I shake your hand, that's the medium that you would expect for this form. But if I walk up to you and I show you a picture, and I smile at the picture, and I say, what do you think? If there's nothing relevant or it's not captivating the way that this form works, you're going to turn around. So you have to think about when you're producing content, understand the audience, understand how they want to absorb the information. Because if you're not giving something that's relevant to them, if you're not giving them something in the experience that they would expect, or if they're not giving something that's valuable, you're not going to get the engagement. And that's what's cool about being able to do it now. You can easily get that data on the back end when we push it out.
Yeah, and the great thing is we know, as you said before, we know when it's not working. Right, so it's iterative. So we can take a good element of a program, and do more of that, right, and look at the underperforming one and just cut it out, right. It's very powerful.
How does authenticity and trust play into all this?
Yeah, and I've heard people tell me that authentic content's becoming like a cliche in the content marketing world, and I get it. But you see, not when you look at some of the inauthentic content that's out there, stuff that looks like totally bait and switch, where, hey, I'm going to tell you and explain something to you, and then you go to it and it's a product sell. So I really think I like the word, not just authentic, but authentically helpful. So if I wanted to, I'm shopping for a credit card, I want to decide the one, and instead of seeing just a piece about the features you have, I'm learning about all of the features I should look for in a credit card, whether it represents the ones I have or not, and content about good credit management and the proper habits you should have, and so on and so forth. Then I think you've sort of built trust with people, and they might then consider to go to the next step about actually looking at the one you offer or whatever. I mean, you're not the only place they're going to get their information. But if you want to even be in the game, then try to be actually helpful to people.
Right.
The other thing too for us is, I mean, you have to be there. You can't just go to the audience when you need something from them. And, especially if you screw up, but you've always been part of the community, they're more forgiving. And so, we work with some brands where they want to do something, say, in the social space. And it's like, yeah, but they don't even know you
Right.
in that realm. So you can't just go out and ask people to do things. You have to invest the time. You really do have to be there. And that's how you essentially become authentic.
Yeah, that's a challenge in content marketing, is maintaining those relationships once you've established them, right? Just like in social media, the worst thing in a social campaign is to get everybody to sign up for your contest and then disappear for 6 months, right? So you have to keep things moving, and for a lot of organizations that can be challenging, from a resource perspective, from a coming up with an ideas perspective. So we talk about a content marketing machine. You need this constant flow of inputs for what people are interested in and how that pairs up with your marketing goals, so you can keep feeding the beast, as we say in news.
So since we're in this forum in a theater, I think it's relevant to kind of bring up this kind of analogy. When you're thinking about content production, you're thinking about being authentic. I think the best thing you can do is, and I'll quote a movie, Frozen, you just need to let it go. Don't try to
Sing
put
it.
on... I could do it if you back me up. If you think about just how corporate speak comes into saying, well, we need to make sure that our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed because this is representing the company. If you add more of a personal flair to it, if you add some of the individuals coming out, you become more authentic because you can make errors. You can screw up a little bit. And what you'll actually find is if you do mess up, people that do support you will come and help you. They'll come and fight for your brand. So authenticity really, to me, comes down to the fact that you're being somebody rather than something.